Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 8th, Middlesex County Council. Welcome to everyone. I think just Councillor Grantham is missing today. Call the meeting to order, and I will at this time turn it over to our clerk.
We acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape peoples who have longstanding relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We acknowledge the treaties that are specific to this area: Treaty 2, McKee Purchase; Treaty 3, Between the Lakes Purchase; Treaty 6, Lennon Township Purchase; Treaty 21, Longwoods Purchase; and Treaty 29, Huron Tract Purchase. We value the significant contributions, both in the past and the present, of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect.
And at this time, a provision for pecuniary interest. If you have any, please bring it forward to Marcy. For approval of the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Smybert, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? Carries. So we have adoption of a number of minutes here. The March 25th meeting of council, the March 11th closed session, and the March 25th closed session. Any business arising from any of the open? If there's anything of closed, you'd have to bring it forward. Seeing none. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All in favor? Carried. Next is under new business. Somebody glued my paper together. First one is the Community Transportation Grant Program. And Chair, I think you're coming up to do that. Can you hear me back there all right? Okay. Do you wish you couldn't?
Perfect. Can we hear? Are we good? Okay. Thank you through you, Chair. On April 30th, 2018, Middlesex County received a letter confirming its eligibility for funding of up to $1.5 million for the Intercommunity Transit Project. The Community Transportation Grant Program Transfer Payment Agreement was received on July 4th, 2019, and on July 16th, 2019, Middlesex County Council approved the agreement for the implementation of a microtransit service connecting Thames Centre with Woodstock and London. On September 21st, 2020, that intercommunity transit service, Middlesex County Connect, was launched. On June 28th of 2021, the province of Ontario extended funding for the CT grants program for an additional 2 years, which brought us to March 31st of 2025. On February 1st of this past year, Middlesex County received a letter confirming additional funding of $280,000. And on March of this year, the province of Ontario extended the CT grant program for an additional year until March 31st, 2026. Middlesex County Connect has been operating since 2020 with Voyago as the service provider. The grant funding was initially scheduled to end March 31st of this year. However, the province of Ontario has extended the CT grants program until March 31st of next year. This extension provides recipients with additional time to fully utilize their CT allocation. However, it does not provide any new funding. At this time, it is anticipated the existing CT Connect routes will continue until August 31st, 2025, using residual funding. The intercommunity transit system is currently undergoing a comprehensive assessment, which you're all aware of, and is expected to be completed by mid 2025. Middlesex County Connect service has provided affordable and accessible transportation to residents, enabling them to access post-secondary institutions, employment, medical appointments, and social programs. Ridership has steadily increased with a 678% growth from 2022 to 2024. Currently, there are 3 fixed routes in place, and they operate during peak hours. Route 1 connects Lucan, Elderton, Arva, and London on weekdays. Route 2, Woodstock, Ingersoll, Putnam, Dorchester, and London on weekdays. And Route 3 connects Dorchester, London, St. Thomas, and Southwold from Monday to Saturday. There are no financial implications of this decision today based on the fact that we are extending the CT and we have residual funding that will take us till the completion of our routes at this point anticipated August 31st of 2025.
Thank you. Questions from council? No questions from council? Sorry, John. Council Brennan.
Chair, the increase of 678%, can you put numbers to that? Like, was it like 100 to 600 or?
Through you, Chair, the numbers are different depending on the routes, but we would be happy to furnish council with a collective report that would show the ridership of each route if you'd be interested.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilor Brennan. Any other questions? No other questions at this time? We have a recommendation in front of you. Are we going to be putting that on the screen? Moved by Councilor Burkhart Jessen, seconded by Councilor McGuire. In favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Kara. Next is 5.2A, and that is CEO recruitment and selection process. Yes, Scott. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Warden. Effective April 1st, 2025, the position of the CAO for Middlesex County is vacant following the retirement of Mr. Rayburn. As a result, the Warden has requested that staff bring forward a report outlining options for filling the CAO position. The report outlines 2 potential approaches for Council's consideration, one being an external recruitment process led by an executive search firm, or an internal recruitment process facilitated by the county's Human Resources Department. Both options are designed to support council in conducting a transparent and competitive process that aligns with the county's strategic priorities. Each approach comes with its own set of considerations, balancing potential benefits and challenges as outlined in the report. Regardless of the path chosen, all key decisions throughout the recruitment process will remain with council and the CAO hiring committee. Ultimately, the choice between these 2 approaches rests with council, and staff is committed to supporting whichever process council determines is in the best interest of the county.
Questions from council on this? Must be some questions on this, comments. Councilor Brennan?
To you, Mr. Warden, the outside, if we go outside with an outside firm, would that be a broader search than if we did it in-house? Like if you got a firm to search, would it be like across Canada or something rather than if we did an internal, it might not be as widespread?
Through you, Warden, to Councillor Brennan. Thank you for the question. Yes and no. We would post it in very similar places internally. The benefits of an external recruiting firm is generally for their network. This will be a highly sought after position. So I'm using their network is valuable, but I think you'll receive a lot of applications where we would generally post as well internally. I don't think you would have any issues obtaining applications.
Councilor Smarter.
Great, thank you. To the warden, thank you for the report. I am leaning towards going external. And I think I'd like to see, because you talked about transparency, an RFP. Because I think sometimes different recruitment companies do different things for different amounts. So I think if we decide to go this route, I'd like to see us do that. Thank you. I don't know if you have any question or any concerns with doing that.
Thank you, through you, the warden. Thank you to Councillor Smybert. No, I don't. And Josh is here, Manager of Procurement, if there are any questions on the application of the procurement bylaw.
Thank you. Councilor Burkhart Jessen and then Councilor Betty.
Hey, and thank you through the warden. Thanks, Jessica, for the report. I'm in favor of an external search. I guess I have just in this jumping off of what Councillor Smybert said, I'm curious as to going through an RFP process, how much time this would put to the search. And I guess I'd like a better understanding from our procurement policy, what that means if we were to follow the recommendations there as opposed to going through an RFP.
Thank you through the word to the councillor. So given the expected cost of these services, we would fall under an invitational competitive process, which would be typically 3 quotes. That said, as our procurement bylaw is written, that's kind of the minimum aspect of it. So we can go above and beyond that by any means. So if we were to do a formal request for proposal through bids and tenders out to the public, generally the turnaround to get an RFP out to market, depending on availability, it can be done in less than a week. And then the RFP process in terms of timeframe from when it opens to closes is generally another 3 weeks. And then evaluations take a week or 2. And if there's any sort of interviews or things of that nature that would occur a part of that, then that just kind of adds to the timeframe. So you're looking at almost 2 months doing a formal RFP process.
Okay, Paul.
Thanks for that clarification. I think it's important that we move on this quickly. I think that we've experienced a lot of ups and downs the last year, and the quicker that we move on this, in my eyes, the better. I'm confident with what Josh has said that we could do that, and with our procurement policy, I think that we can do it that way, and I would lean towards that as opposed to an RFP.
Thank you.
Right.
Go ahead.
If I may too.
Yeah.
There also is the option, I've mentioned it as we talked about the bylaw of group purchasing organizations. And one of them that the county currently uses, OECM, has previously completed a request for proposal for executive staff firms. That would allow the county to kind of facilitate direct negotiation with one of them. But an aspect of that list would be is that there's multiple ones that are part of the OECM program. And what we would be able to do to potentially expedite the process, knowing that these are all qualified firms, is submit, for lack of a better term, a mini RFP specifically to these firms, so that we don't have to go through the full 3-month process that our trade agreements are governed by. It's just an option to speed up the process probably by another 2-3 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Here, Joe.
Councilor Mayhew.
Yes, I believe we should go outside as well. That being said, though, we owe it to our electorate, I believe, that we get the very best person in the job. That's our objective. That doesn't negate any internal employee of Middlesex County applying for that job, which I would hope they would. In the interim, though, I thought the recommendation might have our long-term approach in going out to the market, but a short-term approach as that person from the inside taking over that position for the immediacy of it. And how long, of course, would it take to put a new CAO behind the desk? We'd be looking at several months would we be?
So from,
We do have on that, we do have a closed session.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
that's good.
We do have a
Okay.
closed session.
My question was, how long will it take to put a person behind the desk if you go to market?
in terms of the successful applicant, so if we did a formal RFP process, to conclude that, we'd be looking at 2 months by the time it gets to council for award. Maybe a month and a half. And then if we were to go the expedited route of utilizing OECM's previous RFP to go out to a few shortlisted vendors and ask them to submit proposals, you're probably looking at a month and a half. And then from that point, Jessica could probably speak a little more directly to the timeline for the hiring process.
Okay, thank you.
A standard recruiting process can take anywhere, depending on how many phases you have, interview phases, it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Councillor DeVee and then Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Warden, through you to, well, I'll just frame my comments. I agree with the comments about using an external recruiter. And I think we want to make sure that we have a robust process to make sure that the choices, this is the single probably most important decision that has been made in a quarter century and needs to be made with good thought, input, and process around it. So I was intrigued by the second option. I'm loath to just look at the clock and use that as our most important piece of most important variable in terms of weighing our decision. Having said that, it is going to take a significant amount of time anyway. So I think we need to think about how do we do this in the best way possible to make sure that we can get the best person possible. So I would support the second motion, second alternative that was just described to us about using a pre-select, yeah, that one, and making sure that we can tick all the boxes that we see as important. So I'm agreeing with the councillors so far.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Clark.
Yes, I'm not sure I have much to add. I do also agree with going externally. And initially I was thinking the same as Councillor Smybert about the RFP. I can lean towards your suggestion as well that we spoke of.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Councillor McGuire?
Turn it on. I'll make a motion then that we use an external executive search firm and that we also employ the expedited RFP process.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Smythe.
Just clarification on that motion, though. So then there'll be a recommendation from staff coming forward to council for our consideration. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be the process. All decisions would have to come back to council.
Second the motion.
You're seconding it? Okay, and we're just gonna give Marcy a couple of minutes on the motion, okay?
I just have a further comment. The motion's already on the floor.
Go ahead.
I don't think that we should be rushing this process, and the time should not be the driving force here. We need to get the most qualified, the best candidate. This position has not been vacant for many, many years, and I think we owe it to the public to get it right and to not rush the process.
Go ahead, Councillor Lee.
Just a clarification, the individual firms that would be suitable will come to council and we will take a look at those then, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So we'll request proposals from a number of them. And we'll probably go through an evaluation process and kind of give council feedback as to, how they perform based on that evaluation criteria. But council will be kind of aware of the short list prior to awarding.
So you said shortlist,
Yeah.
so we won't see all of the candidates?
Oh, yeah. In terms of the firms that will be participating.
Yes, so
Yeah, yeah.
if there are 6 that apply, we
Yeah.
will see 6, but you will have ranked them 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, or cut it off at the top 3. Yeah.
Correct. You'll see all that.
I just want to
submitted
be sure I
proposals. Yep,
understand.
of
Thank
course.
you.
You just want a transparency that we see the information, correct?
Yeah, I want council to absolutely.
Okay. Councilor Burkhardt, yes.
Thank you, Warden. Just a quick follow-up while the clerk is wordsmithing. I agree, this is the most important decision. My concern is from a staff perspective. I think we need to make sure that our staff can feel some stability and know that there is a process in place, because I do think there has been some upheaval the last little bit, and I'm just concerned about them, and that's my rationale for trying to be as quick as possible.
Any other comments? We're just gonna. I'll play that Jeopardy music again if I have to. Pardon me? Yeah, no, I'm not gonna sing. You're okay. I won't sing. I would make comment that I think everybody has the same thought in mind. We're not going to dawdle on this. We're going to move forward, but we want to do the best process we can. I think that's what we're all, but to Burkhardt Jessen's point, we do want to make sure that supporting staff so we can keep go forward.
Citizens and news system, can everyone make sure the mics are off? I haven't heard that they aren't, but just.
So I would ask the mover of the motion, seconder, does that cover what you're looking for?
So the OECM is the expedited process, that's the official name, thank you.
Okay, okay, we have it, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, in favor of that motion? Opposed? No one opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Inquiries. Councilor Smiber.
Thank you. So our very own Paul Shipway, the General Manager of Strategic Initiatives and Innovation, is the current AMCTO president for this year. And I am hoping, kind of selfishly, but to support the staff too, at the annual conference in June, which I think is June the 10th. We will be celebrating Paul's year as president. And I think it's important that as many staff get to attend as possible. I would like to attend as well. He's done a great job this year. So I'm hoping that we can reschedule the June 10th county council meeting. And I'm not, if that's okay, I can move a motion, but I want to just hear what everyone else has to say first.
You're not making a motion yet?
Yes, I can make a motion.
Go ahead and make the
So
motion.
I'll move that we reschedule the June 10th county council meeting. Actually, can I suggest that we cancel it? And then I'm looking to the clerk's staff. If we need to reschedule it, then we can do that at a later date. So the motion is to cancel the June 10th county council meeting.
Okay, seconded by Councilor DeVito. Discussion on it? Anybody who wants to go to an extra meeting? Okay, there's no other talk in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Any other inquiries? Seeing none, Councilor's comments and other business. Councilor Burkhardt Jessen.
Thank you, Warden. So a few of us attended the annual Good Roads Conference last week, and part of our opening ceremonies was the presentation of the Volunteer of the Year Award. From a Good Roads perspective, this award recognizes the invaluable and outstanding contribution to the municipal sector made by dedicated instructors and committee members who make a significant contribution to good roads. This year, the award was presented to our own Chris Trainee. And we all know about Chris's dedication and his commitment to our municipality and to public service. But I wanted to share with you how Good Roads recognizes him. So Chris brings an unwavering dedication, exceptional service, and significant contributions to Good Roads and its members. Chris has served as the county engineer for Middlesex County for over 20 years, during which he has demonstrated outstanding leadership and expertise in the field of engineering and public works operations. He is also a Good Roads past president. He is currently the director of the C.S. Anderson Road School, where every year he oversees the training of hundreds of students, ensuring they have the skills and knowledge that we all rely upon in our municipalities. In addition to the above, Chris is an unparalleled advisor on matters both political and technical. He has the raw intellectual horsepower to play the field in both spaces, the experience to see what is coming well into the future when the rest of us are trying to make sense of the now, and the infectious laughter is his win for the day. When truly challenging issues arise, Chris is usually the first person that staff at Good Roads reaches out to. I know that you all join me in congratulating Chris. It really was something to be there. I knew that he was going to be getting the award, but I think it's important that we all recognize that we know what he does, but organizations in the province also see that. So congratulations, Chris.
I have to say that I was talking to Chris outside the room after he received the award. And you can tell that others appreciate that as well. They stopped to congratulate you at the time. Any other comments? No other comments? Okay, committee of the whole. Moved by Councilor Smyber, Councilor Burkhart Jessen, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Delegations for the 9A1, and that's 2025 employee benefits renewal. And Jess, are you doing an introduction here?
Thank you, Warden. To provide a high-level insight into the county's benefits renewal, I've invited Kevin Routley from Select PAC to provide a presentation on the renewal. The benefits renewal process is an administrative renewal process. There is a report in the information-only section that serves to complement the presentation by Kevin. Thank you.
Say going up there.
And do I click through that or somebody clicking through that? There. All set. Thank you, Warden, and thank you to Council for inviting me to present the 2025 employee benefit renewal for the county. My name is Kevin Routley. I'm a partner at Select Path Benefits and Financial. I understand everyone was at my presentation. I provided commentary on the slide deck for your perusal before. So assuming you've already reviewed them, I'll provide more of a high-level summary of each. If you have any questions along the way, please ask. I'm pleased to present an overall renewal increase of just 3.6%, given the inflation in many areas of employee benefit programs, including the introduction of more and more biological drugs and the ever-increasing claims in the mental health area. Municipal benefit programs are under a lot of pressure to maintain cost balance. In the past year, the only area of the program to see an increase in cost was a healthcare benefit, which came in at 6.6%. And it was as predicted to Council in 2024 when I suggested that you should expect a healthcare utilization of between 6 and 7% annually. So we were pleased with that. All other areas of the benefit program remain unchanged, and you sit with a significant surplus in your dental program. Within the long-term disability program, which we all know peaked in 2022, due in large part to mental health claims. The life and long-term disability rates have stabilized significantly and are similar to what you were paying in 2020. Those rates are guaranteed until next renewal in 2026. And we'll speak about them further in my final slide. Within the extended healthcare benefit, like most municipalities, the top claim areas are drug and paramedical practitioners, which make up over 80% of all health-related claims. In 2024, the drug claims increased by 19.7%, with almost 2/3 of those claims being biologic drugs that were absorbed within the stop-loss program. These are things that you're going to continue to see. These biologic drugs are what the drug companies are making the most of. They work better. They have better health outcomes, but they're much more expensive, and you're seeing some of the result. But overall, the net claims increased by only 6.6%, which reflected well in the overall change in rates. Paramedical practitioners. A lot of collective bargaining is focused around some of these areas, most particularly the mental health practitioners. But these claims have increased by 13.7% year over year, led mostly by mental health practitioners, which saw an increase of 147%. This isn't unique to the municipal sector. It's unique to all employers. The growth in the big four, massage therapy, chiropractic, physiotherapy, and mental health practitioner, since 2022 have driven the surge in this area of the program. This is just an illustration of the top drug categories, or what we can refer to as disease states. Biological drugs for autoimmune disease, lung disease, and multiple sclerosis make up the top 3 disease states in 2024 and reflect in Canada stop-loss claims increase year over year. It just continues to amplify my message that biological drugs are what's driving your program costs. Good news, within the dental program, you saw a decrease in claims in 2024, and this is funded through a self-insured administrative services only contract. You sit on a surplus of over $190,000, and it's the same result in the reserve as what we started the year with, noting the fact that Adelaide Metcalf, who was participating in the program, changed their funding methodology, so they took their surplus out, and you still wound up with the same surplus. So not only did claims decrease, your surplus for those that were in originally and stayed in, it actually grew. But you're at over $190,000 in surplus, which bodes well for some of the other areas of the healthcare program where you're seeing some escalation in cost. We might be able to use that reserve in the future to hold costs down if we run into an untenable healthcare increase. So looking at everything together, the reflection of a 1.7% average overall change in cost over the past 6 years is an anomaly within the municipal sector. I'm sure if you spoke with your peers outside of this room, you would hear that message. But outside of the long-term disability cost spike that occurred in 2022, the program's seen very favorable results. We're proud of the efforts made by your HR department and by council to provide a top-of-class employee benefit program with such a stable cost outcome. You see the inflation factors for healthcare, dental, and CPI. You're outperforming in every category, and congratulations to you for being able to offer that to employees. So, state of the employee benefit program. Further to the last slide, I can say that the state of the employee benefit program is stable. Perhaps I should say it's really stable. Looking ahead to next year, the life and long-term disability benefits come off their rate guarantee, so we might see a small increase in that, or a cost change there, to be determined. The healthcare program, through modeling so far year to date, kind of reflects the 6 to 7% change in claims costs that we're historically seeing. Although we'll continue to report to HR as the year progresses and inform the municipality in advance of any unforeseen changes. But since the long-term disability program renewal is most unknown, if the county finance department can initially budget for a 5% change in cost for 2026, I think based on the indicators to date, we feel safe in that number. We'll also provide greater clarity as the year progresses and report with more certainty in October for your budgeting purposes. Okay. I'd ask if you had any questions, but first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for your business and allowing Select Path to represent the interests of you and your employees when dealing with your employee benefits. We appreciate the support and you're helping a local business thrive.
Thank you, Kevin. Questions from council? Councilor Smiler.
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you for your presentation. Select Path is truly a valued partner with the county. My question has to do with what else but tariffs. I think we've heard a lot of information or maybe misinformation in the news. So how does tariffs, and I think this would impact drugs because of, I'm not sure where we get the majority of the drugs, if it's across the border or whether it's in Canada. Has that been looked at? And what does your crystal ball say when it comes to that?
I hate to give you a to be determined, but it's not really a point of concern within our industry specific, or our industry associations aren't really speaking of that. They're more concerned with the effects that it has on our clients and their stability. But we don't hear of any effect yet within the pharmaceutical category.
Councilor Burkhardt, yes.
Thanks, Warden. Kevin, thank you for your presentation. Lots of great information in there. I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball as well. But this time, I guess it's, you've referenced the increased demand for mental health supports, not only, with the county, but you're seeing this kind of industry-wide. Do you see a change in how benefit packages may be presented to employers to address specifically mental health supports, just because the demand has increased so incredibly in such a short period of time?
Through your worship. I suppose what I would say is the demand for mental health support is coming from the education of the workforce. Anywhere you look, anywhere you read, any shows you see, any podcasts you listen to are speaking about the supports available to individuals. Bell Let's Talk Day. They have these effects on the population. And it's driving people that it's not a stigma anymore to seek mental health treatment. So they are. And it's not only your employees, but their spouses and their family members as well. It's across the board. It isn't just an adult problem. But I would say it's more the awareness that's driving everything.
Other questions, Councilor McGee?
Thank you, Warden. Thank you for the presentation, Kevin. My question is along the same lines as Councillor Burkhardt-Tesson's. We've got good experience in this organization, and I'm just wondering is there anything that we can do, or how do we maintain that? I know some things aren't controllable, certain diseases pop it up, and you can't manage everything, but are there things that we could do to make sure that we maximize this kind of a trend internally?
Through the chair, you're asking for a trend for mental health, or you're asking for trend on all costs?
I was thinking mostly about the people in terms of how we can support staff and employees to make sure that the need to access certain services is minimized.
Oh, is minimized.
Yeah, so if they're not accessing or requiring certain services, are there variables that can impact on employees that will make sure that, I mean, health and wellness programs, that was something that came out like in the 70s, I think
Yeah.
those gym memberships and things like that were covered, or like so that's old news. I don't know. Is there anything out there now that providing a certain kind of, I don't know, experience or training or lectures or I'm just
Yeah,
thinking.
I more understand your question now. Thanks for your clarity. We have an in-house education specialist. We've been out at your municipality as an example and have had discussions amongst the employee group, and we're happy to do that amongst any of the union groups, non-union groups, or associations within the county for sure. In terms of wellness, wellness it's such a broad term, and it means different things to different people. You speak to gym memberships, and that's probably the most recognized thought on a wellness initiative, yet it is a taxable benefit, and not able to run through an employee benefit program tax-free, and that's one concern that some employers do have. But the one difficulty with giving a gym membership is you can't incent somebody to go. I can say within our workforce, they just launched an app. It was just a simple app that we launched amongst the company for a walking challenge for the month of April. And I don't know, I didn't know I could walk 12,000 steps in a day, but I seem to have been doing it for the last several. So I think it's a spirit. It comes from encouragement of management and from leadership within the municipalities to incent things like that as well.
Any other questions? Sorry, I will wait. No other questions? Thank you very much, Kevin. I think we're just looking for a motion to accept the information, I believe. Councillor Clark, Councillor McGuire, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Our next is reports from the county officers, and our first one is our proposed plan of condominium, and that's Dirk coming for Tim Center.
You through the ward, and this is a small development in Thorndale, roughly 9 acre, 3.5 hectare property. It would develop 91 townhouses in the end, vacant. It's a VLC, so vacant land units, and then common elements, road network, visitor parking, stormwater management, and those sort of ancillary uses. There is one, I guess I would say, atypical item on this is that the development would also include the construction of a new public road that would provide access to this development and then the larger area over the long term. And it crosses County Road 27, aligns with the existing Elliott Trail, which leads to the school if you've been to Thorndale. And the development would occur on full municipal service. So attached to the report, location map, the proposed plan, the local planning reports that Tim Center Council considered, and that additional supplementary information. My report is a high-level review. It does review the provincial planning statement, the county's official plan, Tim Center's official plan. All those documents, as you know well, guide the sort of development to occur on full municipal services in settlement areas like Thorndale with schools and other facilities there. In terms of the public process, there were some public comments related to impact on surrounding lands through the local process. An agency circulation was undertaken, and comments that were received were either addressed through the local process or as part of the draft plan conditions. And really, there are conditions to satisfy Canada Post, the county transportation department, related to access and development of that road that I mentioned. And then, of course, most of the conditions were requested by the local municipality to deal with those sort of details of the development. So with all of that, there are a number of recommendations before you, including that it be granted draft plan approval subject to the conditions that are attached. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dirk. Questions, comments from council? Seeing none, we'll have that recommendation in front of us in a second. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Smyber. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Dirk. Our next one is the use of social media for business purposes policy. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to stay in my seat here. Thank you, Warden, through you to council. This report relates to the county's use of social media policy and specifically the county's approved social media accounts. Currently, Legislative Services uses 4 approved social media accounts: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X, formerly known as Twitter. At this time, we are recommending that we discontinue the use of the county's corporate X account due to decreased engagement and concerns about reliability and accountability. This is a step a number of municipalities in Ontario are taking and will allow us to prioritize higher engagement platforms like Facebook and Instagram, where we continue to see more community engagement with our posts. So the recommendation is that the policy be updated to remove reference to Twitter, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Council Burkhart, Jess.
Thanks through the warden. Thanks for that, Marcy. I don't think this should come as a surprise to anybody that this is where we're heading with social media. I might just, not that we need to take this one on now, but I might encourage you to just watch Blue Sky because it seems to be a much more positive platform and seems to be gaining some traction when it comes to engagement. So that might just be another avenue that we look at as it continues to develop.
Thank you.
Other questions? No other questions? Have a recommendation? You have it in front of you now. Moved by Councilor Smyber, second by Councilor Mayhew. All in favor? Carried. Next one is the warden's activity report. It's there in front of you. If there's any questions. Oh, I need to move in a second for that. Receipt for information. Councilor McGuire, Councilor Brennan, all in favor? Carried. Next is a general overview of the Middlesex County tariff impacts and procurement considerations. And Josh, that's yours, I guess.
Thank you. Through the warden to council, the Director of Economic Development will also be helping me with this report. As we're all aware, upon the new administration coming into the office of the United States, Canada, as well as the rest of the world, has been under the constant threat of tariffs. Since the initial application on February 4th of 25% tariffs on importing Canadian goods and a reduced 10% tariff on electricity, all economies have had the monumental challenge of navigating pauses and further tariff threats, accumulating with this past Wednesday's announcements of 25% tariffs on foreign-made automobiles and a 10% baseline tariff being implemented on imports from Canada, coupled with the pre-existing measures on Canadian steel, aluminum, and lumber. Throughout these past few months, both the Canadian and provincial governments have been invoking retaliatory measures as described in the report, including a 25% surcharge on Ontario electricity, which was subsequently removed in an effort to facilitate negotiations with the U.S. government, as well as a removal of U.S.-produced alcohol from numerous provinces' shelves. As of today, the Government of Canada's initial countermeasures, which recommenced on March 4th, of 25% for specific goods imported from the U.S. remains in place, along with 25% reciprocal tariffs on imported U.S. steel, aluminum, and additional U.S. goods on March 13th. Canada has also announced 25% retaliatory tariffs on imported U.S. automobiles, but as of this meeting, the effective date is still to be confirmed. From a procurement lens, as I communicated to council on March 11th, county procurement is governed by numerous trade agreements, namely within Canada itself and the European Union. Additionally, the province of Ontario's Discriminatory Business Practices Act to date prohibits the county of providing any sort of preferential treatment to a supplier based on where they are geographically located. If policy is enacted, which has not been the case for municipalities as of yet, we can adjust our own policies and act accordingly. In consideration of not being able to dictate where businesses are located to date, as you can see with the report, procurements awarded to U.S. businesses outside of the categories of fleet and heavy machinery has been minimal since the start of 2023. With that, though, if provincial federal policy is enacted to allow restrictions on U.S. suppliers, unless otherwise directed by said policy, the Ontario Public Buyers Association, or OPBA, who the county relies on its guidance and legal expertise on complex issues such as this, has suggested the following actions by a means of temporary amendment to the county's procurement bylaw. The first would be to adopt an avoid American approach as opposed to an outright ban, as many goods required by organizations like ours are either only produced or predominantly produced in the United States. A outright ban would not be fiscally prudent. Coupled with the fact that the existing trade agreements that I mentioned previously, a blanket buy Canadian approach would put the county in violation of those. With that, to properly enforce and avoid US approach, the county would need to define what a US bidder is. And the county would utilize the best practices across the OPBA. A couple of examples that have kind of been making the rounds across municipalities is whether or not the headquarters is located in Canada or the US, or taking a percentage of employees that are located in either region. And then finally, once we define that, we can determine a financially prudent award methodology, allowing preference for bidders outside of the United States. So within the report, I provided an example where if we had a tender closed and the low tender was from a US bidder and a non-US bidder was second and within 20% of that low bidder, the county at its own discretion would be able to award it to the non-US bidder. It's important to note that not only is it extremely challenging just for the county and its lower tiers as we navigate this new procurement landscape, our suppliers are also experiencing the same issues we are. With existing contracts, we are communicating with suppliers as to what might be impacted and by how much. And if impacted, we would be looking to find solutions for new procurements. Where tariffs may be applicable, we're asking potential vendors as to what it actually is impacted and if any current tariffs are to be part of the services or goods provided, that they be incorporated into the proposal price. And then following that, it's just a matter of open transparency with those bidders as we kind of navigate and work through this landscape together. With that, Kara is going to go over the local economy more so and how economic development is looking to support it.
Good for you, Chair. As is the case in procurement, there are many unknowns with respect to the economic impact that tariffs are having, largely to our nation, to the global economy, and of course, that trickles down into the Middlesex County economy as well. So certain Middlesex County businesses are potentially more vulnerable than others to the effects of these tariffs due to their reliance on manufacturing, agriculture, and cross-border trade. Determining the full economic and fiscal impact of potential trade tariffs is difficult given the complex nature and integration of supply chains, the unpredictability of the scope of the tariffs, and decisions being made by vendors and suppliers based on tariffs imposed. A simple example is a final product that's purchased from a Canadian supplier that may rely on American manufacturing or materials of a particular component. Notwithstanding these complexities, we've isolated a few of the non-exhaustive potential economic impacts and identified them for you. So Middlesex County manufacturing industry, particularly those involved in steel and aluminum production, is vulnerable to tariffs of these metals. The sector may experience reduced demand from U.S. clients due to an increase in the cost of the final goods, with U.S. tariffs included in the final sale, leading to potential revenue declines and workforce reductions in Middlesex-based firms. Local agricultural producers could face challenges due to tariffs on Canadian agricultural products and Canadian retaliatory measures. These tariffs may disrupt export markets and increase operational costs, affecting the profitability of farms within the county. This is particularly of concern for smaller farm operators. The imposition of tariffs complicates the intricate supply chains between Canada and U.S. Businesses in Middlesex relying on that cross-border trade may face delays, increased costs, and logistical challenges, affecting their ability to meet contractual obligations and maintain profitability. The ongoing trade disputes and confusion, which we hear more about than anything right now, over exclusions contribute to an environment of economic uncertainty. This may lead to reduced investment in local businesses, postponement of expansion plans, and a cautious approach overall to hiring, thereby slowing economic growth. Tariffs on imported goods can lead to increased prices for consumers. Ultimately, residents of Middlesex may experience higher costs for products affected by tariffs, reducing disposable income and altering their consumption behavior patterns. Just as tariffs pose a negative impact on trade, however, they also open doors for new markets. This includes potential domestic sales as well as those to countries other than the U.S. in a variety of sectors, including manufacturing, retail, and we cannot forget tourism. In consideration of the economic climate, Middlesex County has undertaken the following actions to date. So action one is the promotion of local enterprise, which of course is par and part the efforts that we put in. And we're going to continue those efforts and really highlight what is made in Middlesex and what the people that are employed in Middlesex and those that are contributing to our economic resiliency. We're also have established an online repository of tariff-related news and resources that was put in place on February the 4th and is maintained. And it's also amplified by the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, of which I'm happy to tell you as of yesterday, I will be chairing the Economic Development Committee for Western Ontario Wardens Caucus going forward. We also are participating very actively in all regional and sector tariff roundtable discussions and surveys. Western Ontario Wardens Caucus in early February put together a survey that has close to 300 responses across the region, and that information is being rolled up with our ministerial representatives from the province as well. We are also adapting, of course, our foreign direct and commercial investment lead generation. Through our FDI programs, Middlesex County is partnering with the federal government, global affairs, again this year to increase the share of outreach to European markets. The U.S. maintains a large trading partner for Canada, and Middlesex businesses and opportunities for investment attraction from the U.S. will still be explored where feasible to do so. The FDI and commercial investment strategies produced in 2024 have really set Middlesex County up for responding to the recent uncertainty in the North American trade agreement environment. And we'll continue to collaborate with regional partners and consultants on bolstering those opportunities for both domestic and international investment. We also are in the midst of conducting a robust business retention and expansion survey. And together with all of our local municipal representatives, we have already launched this BRNE. So we are doing in-person interviews as well as a very detailed open survey with 5 to 10 businesses through each of our municipalities. And this process will be completed by May. This will be the crux of the information that we will get direct from the hands of our businesses into what exactly they are facing. And we will be able to roll up a report on that. We will do that both at the county level as well as individually for each municipality. And that has been communicated to municipal staff in each area. We are also hosting, and you may see it in your inbox today, a trade and tariff information session exclusively for Middlesex County. This is for our municipal staff, our elected officials at both the county and the local level. So we encourage you to share this information. Very excited to tell you this will be keynoted by Brock Dickinson. If you don't know Brock's name, he is definitely one of the subject matter experts on tariffs and trade. He is currently serving as vice chair of Invest Ontario. I'm very happy to tell you as well, we also have alongside Brock a representative from the consulate, and she is the actual trade commissioner between Canada and Detroit. And so she will be joining us for that discussion as well. That's taking place on April the 15th. It's a virtual session, and you should have a Zoom link to that currently, if not by the end of the day, in your inbox. So Middlesex County will continue to engage in joint advocacy efforts with provincial associations, economic development networks, and municipal organizations to support a coordinated response to trade-related challenges and to advance the interests of rural municipalities in provincial and federal policy discussions with respect to trade.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Josh. Have you got more, Josh?
No questions. I think we covered it.
Okay, questions? Questions, comments? Councilor Smyber?
Thank you. I thought that report was really quite informative because I think we hear a lot about what the federal and provincial governments are doing. And I think there's an expectation locally that we should be doing something as well. So I found this is helpful. So I guess my ask is just keep us informed, especially when you're asking for these business leaders to provide information in terms of what their needs are. I think it's important that we know what they are, whether or not we can act on that is another story. But again, I think as long as we continue to have that flow of information, it's going to help us kind of navigate through these uncertain times. But thank you for the information.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor DeBeat?
Thank you, Warden, through you to staff. Thank you very much to both of you for that report. I think the only thing that's going to be constant moving forward, well, it's always the truth, but the change at the rate at which it changes is going to be something we all have to sort of just absorb somehow. But I mean, changes are coming. Last week I heard, for example, and this may be of interest to paramedic services, another supplier of vehicles is coming online. They're in the process of being certified and all the rest. So I think there is a Canadian response to what we need and what can we do locally and that kind of thing. So to the extent that we know about it and we're in the loop, I think we can all do better. So thank you very much.
Anything else from council? We'll see after hearing today. I do look forward. Next Tuesday is the day at the county, so I look forward to that. If there's nothing else, we have a recommendation to, I think it's a long recommendation, so he's going to put that up. All right. That's in front of you. We are looking for a mover, Councillor Smybert, seconded by Councillor Clark. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next item is correspondence and information items. I'm not sure from item 9D1 to 9D7. Is there anyone wishing to speak on any of those? Seeing none. You make a motion? You have a question? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
The document that I'm referring to the road closures for 2025. It's mentioned there in Mulla Ferry Road, it says from Steve Road to Pike Road. But then down the map, the fifth map that's been closed, perhaps you can explain. The map says location of full closure is between the Curwood Road and Steve Road, yet we're referring Steve to Pike. I'm just curious why that in the diagram is that expensive in those places.
Yeah, through the warden councillor, all the road closures are going county road to county road. So although it might be closed, completely closed for that section, we don't want to detour traffic, especially truck traffic, off of the county road network. So if I'm looking at that last map for the Mulla Ferry closure, sort of the two closest north-south routes for the section of work on Mulla Ferry is Curwood Road and Pike Road, which are two county roads that have both been constructed to the full county arterial road standard. So we wouldn't put the full closure detour traffic onto Seed Road. It's just not structurally capable of holding the commercial traffic. And that's true for most of our road closures. We're mindful that local people will find their way, but we certainly want people who are transient through the region, especially our commercial traffic, to take that longer detour out and stay on our well-constructed county roads. Yeah.
Okay, so the roads will be closed from Curwood Road to Pike?
There'll be that temporary closure for that section.
I'm looking at the red.
Yep.
To me, that's indicating that's what's going to be closed.
So the full closure for that section on Mulla Ferry is likely for a replacement of underground infrastructure. So there will be periods where the road will be impassable. So that's where we'll have the red road closed bullet. You won't be able to go past that for sections during that. Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on any of these items? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Smybert. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Just before we go, I asked for closed. I want to thank Adam, I want to thank your team, also IT and staff for making this room available here for us today for the council meeting. Appreciate it. Okay, we need a committee to rise from the whole. Councillor Smyber, second by Councillor Clark, all in favor? Now we're looking to move into closed. And the reasons are on the screen. Okay. All right, move to go into closed. Councillor Burkhardt.